Howdy, all you delicious people. I'm here today to review a first season of Ad Vitam. Ad Vitam or Ad Vitam. However, this show wants to be pronounced. ADVITAM. I'm going to review the first season of this, kind of let you know how I felt about this show. It was recently put on Netflix, so I recently decided to see what the concept was, and then after that, see what I could do to review this here. So, reasonably, I'm probably going to give you in quasi Cliff Note fashion, and then we're probably going to go into just kind of like talking about the show and just how I felt about it overall. Reasonably, I think this show it starts out strong. It really does start out strong. And then I think just probably even halfway through this season, if you could even call it a season, it was only 6 episodes. It's very short, it's very brief, and what have you. But I feel with this show, I felt like they didn't know where to go with it. Is kind of where I felt. I felt that they kind of had to. Maybe they thought that they were gonna have a longer winded amount of time to do this show. I don't know, but it just felt like they had to come up with a story to end this, and I don't know. It just like kind of after the first half of this, the second half just really falls flat, and you just really just is like at first you become intrigued with the show, but then in the second half you're just kind of like, okay, why should I care? Why should I care? Honestly, um, and that's sad. Really, realistically, this show had a really good concept. It kind of reminded me of some stuff that I've seen on Netflix. Quasi like Altered Carbon, or or things along those lines, like a very like futuristic kind of movie that's not really uh it's futuristic in the way of like technology, how they've kind of amassed some kind of cure for aging, for death, in a sense. But not everyone is going to choose that path, and that's what makes it for a intriguing story. Yeah, reasonably in this show, yeah, this show basically has mastered the fountain of youth. And so people are living much longer than they honestly uh or that they reasonably should, because in all actuality they will usually get asked like, "Hey, how old do you think I am?" And a lot of people will look at this person that's probably 30, 35, or whatever, and like 80, 110, and this and that, and like, no, I'm only 35, or no, I'm only like 55, or no, I'm only 75, or whatever. It's like, I'm like, okay, like, interesting. Yeah, like, how are you actually gonna start doing this show beyond? Let's say for example, if this show was cranking out and just being a gigantic hit, how are they gonna do multiple seasons and not have one lick of anybody get older as the show progresses? I think that this show ultimately does kind of get painted into a corner, and ultimately it's just like, okay, this show was built to not last very long, and what have you. It's just reasonably, unless they had some kind of digital effects or something like that to unage these people and what have you. Yeah, this show was made to be brief. It was. But yeah, I do really like the initial concept going into this. There was some visually interesting things about this that I was like, all right, like okay, cool. How they made this place just kind of a world, and really how you have some people that have decided, yeah, like I've done like three different jobs in my lifetime, like three lifetimes of jobs, and so that way I could kind of change it up. But then there's this one guy that's stubbornly just being a detective, and just doing that for a very long time because I guess he just enjoys it. But yeah, reasonably with this show, you have quite possibly some people um, trying to make babies, and reasonably there is a qualm about whether they should have like natural births anymore and stuff like that. Everything is just like being put into a test tube instead of like letting people live and breathe and have lives and stuff like that. It's just like, no, we can't age these people, and they can't have their own babies, and they and like I think that's where it starts, this like uprising that ends up happening in the second half of the show, where it's just like, yeah, we don't like that like the government is just letting people live forever, and just like, and we don't like it that that like we're running out of, like the government is taking like choice out of our hands to just like, or a lot of people are peer pressuring these people to, oh yeah, go and yeah, you've hit the goal age of being able to live forever, so hey, why don't you just go and get, yeah, just go get a little adjustment to live forever. Just yeah, just go and get a little science like experiment to live forever. Yeah, just go ahead and do that. Just start doing those and what have you. And like some people are just like, why is it that they can't decide to live any age forever? It's just like, well, no, because that doesn't quite work. Uh, and you'll find out in the show that it doesn't quite work that way. But yeah, kind of that's probably the most of the cliff notes and what have you. Maybe talking about the show a little bit, but ultimately, that's probably the cliff notes. So I think now, double five time coming at you, hot and sweet and delicious and heavy, and what have you. So now we're gonna talk about the show reasonably. I think the second half is more. Even though I just had finished watching this show, reasonably, the first half is much more memorable to me than the second half. Reasonably, how we have the one very young girl who also knows this guy that was in this rebellion who ended up getting killed and what have you. Reasonably, how we kind of are starting to see different kinds of people in this show rather than just all the people that are fine with just living forever. We're having a lot of people that are on different spectrums of just, you get the people that decide, no, I want to naturally grow old and die. You get the people that are taking a girl and adopting her, and basically telling her how she's going to live her life. And she ultimately, because she doesn't like all the decisions her parents are making for her, she goes and takes the jellyfish that is in their apartment and flings it at him, and then walks away because it's like yeah, like you can control a fish, you can control a uh yeah, you can control that. Like don't try to control this kid. Like let her just live her life. Yeah, you are her adopted parents or whatever, but that doesn't mean that all of a sudden like hey, we own this person, like, and now we're going to tell dictate to them where their life is going, and that they're going to they're definitely going to eventually get to the point to where they are going to uh whatever it's called, like reanimate or whatever it's called, where they get into that fountain of youth and they stay the same age for, and that's what they kind of planned for her and what have you. Ultimately, this show just kind of lives off, kind of dies after that. The whole point of, okay, you have this detective and you gotta give him something to do. So there is these people that are starting to rise up against all these people that are deciding to live forever, and surefire enough, some people get caught in the crosshairs and what have you. But yeah, this show, other than that, it's just like there's not enough there that kept me intrigued enough after probably the third or fourth episode. And then I'm like, come on, like, come on, like, you gotta give me something. And there was just not enough there. There was just, it just kind of like, it felt like it was a show that didn't know where to go past the point of, hey, we got this cool, interesting idea. But after that, it kind of just, where does it go after that? Where does it go? Nowhere. It doesn't go anywhere. It just kind of just, it just dies a slow death. And then we just have to be fine with it. Just like, it just kind of like, yeah, after episode 3 or 4, it just kind of comes to be any other show that you've probably ever seen in your life and what have you. It gets to a point to where there's sometimes for this fountain of youth, it does not work for everyone, and that what is kind of makes this show intriguing is just like, oh, okay, well, not everybody can live forever. There's always some kind of side effect, or there's always some kind of what have you. And then also what is kind of going on in this show is there ends up being just a lot of kids missing, which ties into this rebellion of these people that just don't like what's going on, hence why they just end up missing and what have you. Because reasonably, I think a lot of them would want the choice of being having the fountain of youth as a actual youth. So that's what the real gripe is. It's just, why can't you perfect this to where anybody who wants a choice to just live forever at a certain age could do so, and what have you. But yeah, that's probably about it for this review. There's only 6 episodes, and there's not much going on here. Besides, oh, hey guys, here is my concept for a show. Here is my idea for something. And then after that, it's just kind of like, well, I guess we need to wrap this up. I guess we need to wrap it. Like, there's nothing. Like, yeah, it's just like, yeah, it's just, there's not enough there to really give enough care to have this show had to direly be presented to anyone and shown off and flaunted about, because really, without a doubt, it just kind of slowly builds, and then you're just like, oh god, what's gonna happen in the other episodes? And then it just slowly declines, and then you're just like, dude, the time that I'm supposed to start caring about this, and I'm just not. Eventually, it goes from a unique concept to it just like being every show that I've ever seen in my life. And of course, like, reasonably, there's only a certain amount of people that care on the show. You have the young girl that from start to finish is kind of the key to everything. Um, you have her kind of being um, dipped into the police force, bizarrely enough, and then she's kind of like this undercover person that's doing all these like investigations about all these people and trying to figure them out. Working bizarrely for the police to where eventually the detective has to go and save her at the end of all this. Um, but yeah, because like this girl already has a connection to all these kind of like rebellious like people because her brother was one of those rebellious like people. Anyways, this doesn't show doesn't seem to realize it needs to wrap this up in 6 episodes. I think is what really happens ultimately. But yeah, that's just what it is, and hopefully you liked this review for how brief it is because I don't know, I can't really go on to really assess this show by other than just saying like just things that I've said before and what have you. It starts off well, but then after that, it just starts to fart itself away. It just, it just kind of relies on the fact that it's like, okay, we're just gonna be done in, we're just gonna be done in a couple episodes. All right, and then it's just, yeah, it just like looking at this show, it kind of reminds me a lot of the PlayStation show called Powers, but it this show has nothing to do with superheroes. It has nothing to do um with a lot of stuff in Powers, but it kind of has that feeling to me. Like, okay, you have this one main character that's really this detective, and he's getting this kind of like jump, and this jump of like fountain of youth, like power, I guess we could say, and by taking these scientist like experiments, and they gotta always jump through hoops from like, oh, you might be, oh, you're drunk. I don't think that this will work. I don't think we can have you come in here drunk or whatever. And there's so many rules and so many whatevers. But yeah, that's probably my overall thoughts. Reasonably, if you guys saw this, let me know in the comments below if you enjoyed this or thought differently than I did or what have you. But other than that, it started out good. It started out good. But then like the shows after that I was just like, okay, I guess um make it just background noise. Kind of get to the story, but yeah, it just felt like anything else that I've ever seen in my life. So go and check it out if you want to. You can get another point of view that I did, but yeah. Um check it out, I guess. Why not? Um you could probably make it feel like it's a forever young Mel Gibson kind of movie, I guess. I don't know. But anyways, I think that we'll just call that a wrap there. Yeah. Short videos today, evidently. Short videos. So I'm gonna go. Bye everybody. Bye everybody.